Okay, we can proceed. Sir? Sorry? Oh, Mr. Is it Laxon? Edson. Okay, okay. You can tell us where you're coming from. We want to know, sir. Okay. Sorry, so beautiful. Yes, sir. Sorry? Simple. Okay. Bachelor in Public Health. And you don't want to tell us what you are currently doing. Possibly you might be working on a project. And we are interested to know which project are you working on? Okay. Madam. Sorry? Madam Mirongo? Oh, yes, yes. Can you tell us what? Oh, okay. So, Mirongo. Madam. Sorry? Oh, Madam Lisa, yes. Go on to proceed. Thank you so much. Sir. Savannah, right? Oh. Sir. Mr. Samantha. Okay. Sir. Sir. Sorry? Hanyala Height. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Frank Mawa? Luala? Okay. Okay. Oh, wow. That's beautiful. Sir? Sorry? Oh, Mr. Nawamwewe. Oh, Munya. Wow. Okay. You currently working on a project? Oh, okay. Even better. Sir? Bison? Theory. Mr. Theory. Yes, you're welcome. So thank you so much. You are all welcome to this course called Monitoring and Evaluation. Just like you can see, there it is written monitoring and evaluation. That means there are two components that are supposed to be covered in this course. Then just to give you a brief background about, I will share this slide with you. It's quite loaded, and then I will not go into detail, just trying to explain about the history of monitoring and evaluation. I'll share it with you, just to tell you where monitoring and evaluation is coming from and how it started. So if we go back to 1943, when the World War, when it was about the World War to start, the American government had actually funded a lot of countries in terms of military operations. So they had pushed in a chunk of billions of dollars in those military operations, but at the end, America realized that they were not getting the expected results from those projects that were funding. And at that point in time, they never did anything that they can use to monitor the resources that they used to push in, the resources that they used to give to different countries where they used to hold their military operations. It was at that stage that people took interest in trying to develop something that can speak to them, something that can answer their questions about the accountability of their money, something that can tell them that indeed, in this project we used the money efficiently, something that can speak to them about the effectiveness of the project. Did we reach the target population? If we reach to the target population, how many did we speak to per day? So all those questions, they wanted to have an answer to it. And it is since then that monitoring and evaluation has developed into the field now, which we now call it monitoring and evaluation. So monitoring and evaluation is a new field, not only in Africa and in Zambia, but also even to these other developed countries like United Kingdom. In America, I do agree though that In Zambia, monitoring and evaluation should have started somewhere back in 2006, but it's still a new field, and we still need more people who are skilled in monitoring and evaluation, because as it stands in Zambia, there are so many non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, even in public sector where people are working on projects, and I need a tool called monitoring and evaluation that can speak to them about the progress that they are making in their project, about how they are using resources, about how relevant the activities that are doing, and how it relates to their goal. Are we together, class? So that's pretty much about monitoring and evaluation. I'll share this slide with you. I don't want to dwell much. We've got so much to cover in this course. So I'll quickly move on to the next slide, which just about the facets, or rather the components of this course, monitoring and evaluation. Okay, so we will start discussing monitoring and evaluation from this side. I'm happy that all of you present here, except for about less than 5% in this class, are not doing project management. But I'm happy that you also enrolled for project management. I want you, as you are doing your project management, some of you actually, at the moment, you are even working on projects. Some of you, maybe you might be involved in policy development and implementation. Some of you might be working on programs, or some of you might be working on something that you don't feel is a project, but when we try just to dissect it, we might confine it to a project. So we must be able to relate between project management and monitoring and evaluation. So monitoring and evaluation is something that you are supposed to embed in your project. Are we together, class? It's something that you are supposed to put in your policy, something that you are supposed to put in your program. So monitoring, it means you need to monitor what you are doing on a daily basis. Then evaluation, it means you need to assess what you've done so that you make a decision. Are we moving towards our goal? Are we together? And the instance of you embedding this M&E in your project is that through or during the implementation of the project, you should put up parameters to say, after 6 months, we are going to be evaluating. So you need to evaluate what you've been doing in the past 6 months. Then from there, you need to ask yourself questions. Have we made the target? If not, where is the problem? We need to know the problem. Are we together? Once we know where the problem is, then it will be very easy for us now to come up with new strategies so that we do not fail in the next phase. Are we together? It wouldn't make sense. We are learning on this 6 year, it could be the project that will take about 5 years, right? We don't want to make a mistake where we are just doing the implementation. We don't even know whether or not we are reaching the target population. So we need to have indicators that should speak to us throughout the project, so that when we know that we've made a mistake somewhere, we need to quickly correct it and move in the right direction. And that's the whole essence of having monitoring and evaluation embedded in the project. And as it stands, at least for any project, 10% of that budget should be for monitoring and evaluation activities. At least the minimum. And when I say at least, it means that's the lowest. Are we together? So it means monitoring and evaluation is very important. Even when you are applying for a grant, you need to specify how you are going to be monitoring whatever that you are going to be doing. Because if you write a grant without indicating how you are going to be monitoring what you are going to be doing, how you are going to be assessing what you've done, it's possible that your grant may not even succeed. They will give it to other groups who have clearly specified how they are going to be monitoring and how they are going to be evaluating or assessing what they have done. So monitoring and evaluation is very important, and we should be able to draw a distinction or a dichotomy between this and project management. So something key in evaluation and monitoring is this very simple thing called planning. Planning is very fundamental when it comes to M&E, and we also tackle this part in details, because most of these things that we are going to be doing, it will just be about planning and planning until the time will come in now when we're closing to evaluation, where we start looking at how can we do the cost-benefit analysis. I know that word is famous to everyone to say, no, we need to do a cost-benefit analysis, but it's layer. I mean, we just use it as a cost-benefit analysis, but we don't even know how to do it. So in this course, we are also going to close, and for me, I would love to dwell much into evaluation than monitoring, because work is more into evaluation than into the monitoring. Monitoring is more like it's coming in the planning aspect of it, where you'll be dealing with the conceptual framework, the log frame matrix, where you'll be dealing with the result framework, or rather the strategic framework, where you're going to be dealing with the theory of change. So all those components is about planning. You need to plan before you can start doing your activity, so that as you start, you just be following through your plan. So monitoring and evaluation is never possible without planning. We must go back to the drawing board and come up and agree on things that we are going to do as a project. We need to agree which activities are we going to be conducting as a policy. Which interventions are we going to be implementing as a program? Are we together? So planning just simply deciding on what you intend to have, say, 5 years from now. In other words, we need to see where we want to be in the next 5 years, and that can be defined as a goal. We need to have something that we want to achieve at the end of that project. But now planning is now deciding how best we can alive, or how best we can achieve that goal, and that's the whole essence of planning. In a nutshell, that's how I can define planning. Is just deciding on how best you intend to achieve your goal. Are we together? And that covers everything about this definition, which is planning. Planning means setting an organizational goals and deciding how best you can achieve it. Planning is the process of thinking carefully about something you want to do in the future. This involves exactly deciding how you will do it while considering all possible challenges. Planning is the process of setting goals. So all those are just different definitions of what planning entails. We haven't even started, we are just looking at more like the concepts that we are going to be using in this course called monitoring and evaluation. So that's planning, deciding. Then those are the questions that you are supposed to answer. Planning activities for end programs involves the following questions. So as you are doing the planning happens during the designing phase of your project. You need to plan. So you are going to be answering those 6 questions that are there. What will be done? You need to clearly specify what you are going to do as a project, what you are going to do as a policy, what you are going to do in that particular intervention, what you are going to do in that particular program. So I'm using this way such as program and project, but let me just narrow it down. So a program is on a large scale, which will now consist of projects. Projects will be embedded in a program. You can have a single program. You've got this project learning, then you've got this project learning, then you've got this project learning. That's the difference between a project and a program. In a nutshell, we can say a project is a subset of a program. Are we together? You've got different projects embedded in a program. Then a project will just now involve the activities, and the activities are just simply the question. I mean, the bullet number 1, what will be done? What are you going to be doing? Those are the activities. Are you going to be sensitizing people? Are you going to be distributing condoms to people? Those are activities. Are we together? Then the second bullet is talking about how will it be done? So you need to specify how are you going to be conducting those activities? How are you going to be sensitizing people? We'll go in details. This is just the background to this. Then bullet number 3 is talking about when will it be done. It's talking about the timeline there, right? We need to specify that, okay, this particular activity will start here, then it will end here. Then after this particular activity will start and this activity will start. Then bullet number 4 is talking about who will do it. Human resource here, right? We need to have people. Number 5, where will it be done? Location. We know that we are going to be dealing with people. Maybe it could be in Vugwi. We've identified that there's a need for us to go and put up boards there. So we have to specify where this project will be implemented. Then bullet number 6 is talking about why will it be done. So we need to justify the significance of the intervention. Why should we even do it? And that's why it's always important before you can set up a project, you need to conduct what is called a baseline survey or a need assessment. We need to ascertain that indeed there is a need for us to administer or to give this service to this particular population. I'll give a very, very fun example. There was some times back, these people went to a rural community. Then as they went there, they saw that people were going very far just to go and draw water. So they thought that indeed these people needed bowls that are going to be closer to them. Are we together? They didn't do a need assessment. They didn't ask the people that, do you really need the bowls? The only thing that they did, though, just through observation, these people can be traveling about 10 kilometers from their houses, then definitely they will need these bowls. So what did they do? They went further, they started constructing the bowls. They constructed quite a lot in that village. Then they commissioned those bowls. People started drawing water from those bowls. 1 year later, those people went back now to collect the data. They wanted to evaluate, did we succeed? Are we together? They wanted to assess what they did. They went in that community. They started doing some form of observations. Then they realized that actually, some bowls at that particular point in time, people had even stopped drawing water from those bowls, but they were still going very far. The reason was very simple. These people now realized that in this community, the parents were living in those small glass-thatched houses where in a smaller house where maybe there's just one room, then you're just going to put a mosquito net here so that you separate that this is the master bedroom, then this is where the kids are supposed to be sleeping. So what they found was that the reason why actually parents were sending their sons and daughters very far is that they never used to have enough time to play around when the kids are around. So what do? They have to send them very far so that when they go very far, that's when now they are going to have that enough time to enjoy as a couple. And so that project failed because these people, they never conducted the so-called the need assessment. They did not ask people, do you really need this service? And that's why it is very important that before you can design the project, you need to conduct what is called a baseline survey. You need to be very sure that the people themselves, they really need that service that you intend to give to them. Are we together? Otherwise, you should just proceed just by looking that maybe possibly Mr. John will need a bottle of water, then you buy a bottle of water. Actually, they will say, I don't even need a bottle of water. I'm just thinking about something. Are we together? So we need to ascertain exactly what their community needs. We need to ask them questions. I could ask a question. So in this case, then what could be the purpose of planning? Why should we go back to the drawing board and do the planning before we can move on to start implementing the activities? Is that anyone who can give it a try? Why should we even waste time, doing the planning of this project, doing the planning of the activities? Why should we put the timeline to the activities? It's also possible that we can just be doing pante, right? We can still succeed, provided we are administering the service. Who can give it a try? Why is it that planning is very important to the success of any project or policy or program? I want to give it a try, madam. You can give it a try. And actually, the answer is even there. You can just frame it differently if you want. Why do we need this component of planning, monitoring, and evaluation? Why is it very fundamental for us? I know that without this thing called planning, then there can never be monitoring and evaluation. We need to know exactly what are we going to be doing. We need to document all those things. Which activities are we going to be conducting? We need to document those things. And just by doing so, it means we are doing that thing called planning. This side, madam?
So we're looking to certain ways of how you meet people.
Exactly. So everything is being answered there. We need to know how are we going to reach or how are we going to achieve the goal, right? So all those 6 questions that are there. Yes. So all those 6 questions that are there gives us an answer. How are we going to achieve the goal? All those things. We need to know exactly what we are going to be doing, how we are going to be doing it, when that very thing will be given to society, who is going to be administering that service, where exactly, to be precise, this service will be administered. And we need to state, why do people need this service? Are we together? And that answers that question, the purpose of planning. It helps in working out how to tackle the program. Those questions that are there, if you've just looked at those 6 questions, are answering those. A success program is one that has a clear plan. The plan clarifies both the employees working for the program and those dealing with stakeholders, what the program is doing and where it is heading. You've seen that all those things that is being mentioned here, those that we had from those 6 questions, right? Exactly. Then the plan. I think I don't have even to define this one, right? So there is a carefully considered arrangement for carrying out some future activities. A written account of intended future course of action aimed at achieving specific goal objectives within the specific time frame. So in other words, as you be answering those 6 questions, you need to be recording those things, because in future you need to be going back to your plan and say, oh, on Monday what did we write as you need to go back to your plan and check, oh, what are we going to be doing tomorrow? Then from there, you're going to be telling your program officers, the people that you are going to incorporate in your project, that, oh, tomorrow we'll be working from Vugui. These are the activities that we are going to be doing. The event will start from this time to this time. So everything that we plan as what we intend to do is supposed to be carefully documented. Are we together? But I do agree that the landscape of the problem may change along the way. I'll give an example. Like at the moment we are talking, how much is million now? It's about 150, right? Let's assume that during the designing phase of your project, you had put that the cost of meal at least to be within 50 to 70 kwacha, right? But due to something that goes beyond beyond what you as a project you can control, because the pricing of the meal is not something that you can control. It's at a national level, right? Exactly. Now, it means whatever that you've planned, coming today, things have changed. So it means you can go back to your plan and edit it, right? But you also need to document, and you need to put the reasons why you are to edit that document for posterity issues. Because remember, for any project, at the end of it, post-audit implementation is supposed to be done. And that thing is supposed to be done by the project manager. So if you are the project manager, it's well known that at the end you need to be accounted for by the donors, by the people that will be giving you the money. So everything that is going to be done is supposed to be documented so that you can refer to it. Oh, here we altered our budget due to these political and socio-economic conditions that we failed to contain as a project, but we needed just to move in that direction to just make the project succeed. Are we together? Then a collection of organizational resources that is geared to accomplish a certain major goal or set goals. So all these things that we are talking about, a project, a program, a policy, who have a goal, and the goal is simply that very thing that you want to subsist upon doing all your activities. Are we together? I know that at this stage it hasn't started making sense to you because we're just looking at all these things that these definitions or the concepts that underpins this code, monitoring and evaluation. But these are very key. No wonder today, right after this class, I have to share with you these slides so that you go through. So that next time when we come in, when I say, let's come up with a goal, it means we should all know what it means by goal. Let's come up with an activity. Let's come up with an output. We should all understand what a program is, what a project is, and so on and so forth. Then a project Just simply interrelated activities and results with the unified purpose together with the resources and time frame to achieve goals. As I was saying, that a project can be a subset of a program. A program comes on a larger scale. You are going to have different projects. This could be project A, then this could be project B, then this could be project C. Are we together? Then under the projects, that's when you are going to be having your interventions and the activities. Okay, in here we are going to be giving this service, we are going to be giving this service. An example would be, let me just come up with something hypothetical which I can call as a program, then for me to try to bring in the issue of the project. Let's say, which program can we, okay. Who can help us? Who is working on a program? Sir, you said you have a program ongoing. Is it a program, a project? It's a program, right? What's the name of the program? Sorry? E-translation? Tax. E-taxation? Okay. Through the phone? Okay. So, Zeng is working on a project called e-taxation, right? So then I do believe that if that is a program, then you should have different projects under that program, right? So are you able to share with us, or is that too much to ask for? Okay. That's a first project, right? Through the banks, that's another project, right? Exactly. So, saying is working on the e-taxation program. Then under it, their project, the first project is just looking at, is it e-payment? I can say e-payment, where you're paying electronic payments. You don't have to go to the bank. You don't have to go, for example, to Zedala to go and make payments. You can just do it on your mobile money. I know there are different activities that they are doing there. Then they move on, they go to the next project, which is now the traditional way of making payments. You need to walk into the bank, you go and do all those transactions and whatever. And then I'm sure maybe it could be another project that could be just looking at compliance, and the people are adhering to these things. Are we together? So under a program, you have different projects. Then in a project, you are going to have different activities being conducted. Are we together? Then I do believe that as we move into details, we are going to understand these concepts even better than we are understanding them at this stage. That's what I'm trying to rush, because time has been confined to only an hour, right? Then a general statement of aim or purpose. A goal is simply that very thing that you want to achieve at the end of the project. What do you intend to achieve? It's on a general scale, right? What you want to subsist after you have addressed all the issues that you identified in society, after you've eliminated those issues, what you want now to remain is now what we can call as a goal. That's where we want to be as a project. That's where we want to be as a program. That's where we want to be as a policy. We need to address those societal problems. Once we eliminate them, then we need to state that this is where we want to stand after we've addressed all those issues that we are determined, those issues that we are determined from the baseline survey or the need assessment. After we eliminate those issues, we should now simply be standing at that very thing called a goal. Then there's a strategic goal specifically specify what the organization aims to achieve in the medium and long term. So it means it's also possible to have a short-term goal and a long-term goal. Are we together? Then strategies. You can define for us what a strategy is. Well, I wanted to say something, right? You can define for us what a strategy is. We often use this term. No, I want to strategize. Let's go back to the drawing board so that we can come up with new ways of tackling this problem. And those are strategies, and it's common. Like I was giving an example that you could have planned that the mill for the next 5 years, the price at least will be maintained between 50 to 70 kwacha. But now, it's no longer that way, right? The pricing has gone to 150. What do? You need to come up with new strategies. In other words, you need to come up with new ways of you going about addressing that issue. Otherwise, if you maintain the old ways, when the landscape of the problem has changed, then your project is doomed to fail. Are we together? So all those are strategies, and these are the common ways that we use, that we normally use. Then there's a mission. Most often, if not all the organization, and I do believe it should be for all the organization, they state what their mission is, right? The mission is an overriding premise in time with the values or expectations of stakeholders. And the mission is simply what makes an organization exist. They need to specify what they stand for, and that's simply the mission. Without a mission, then there's no need for an organization to exist. They need to tell us that we as the University of Zambia, we stand for provision of this and this and this and this. Are we together? And that should be the mission. They should specify to us so that we know that this particular institution exists because of this purpose, if I may narrow it down to say a purpose. And that's a mission. And there is an example there. To provide affordable and high quality postal and financial services to the satisfaction of customers and stakeholders. So they have specified, Zambia Postal Services have specified clearly why they exist. They exist for that purpose, to provision of affordable, high quality financial services that should satisfy their customers and the people that they are going to be working with. And there's a vision there. A vision is something that will occur through the process of time, right? You need to foresee it. And those guys are telling us that for them, their vision just to reach to everyone, everywhere. Are we together? So all those things, even in project, you are going to state, oh, this is why we stand, and this is what we intend to do. Then approaches to planning. So in planning, there is what is called the top-down approach and the bottom-up approach. Then there is the combination of the two. So a top-down approach, there is where decisions are being made from the management, from the top management there, then they'll just pass on to the subordinates for implementation. Are we together? Then the bottom-up approach, then means the discussion starts from the lower level, then it begins moving through ranks until it reaches to the top management. Are we together? That's pretty much the bottom-up and the top-down. But there are always disadvantages and advantages. And let's take about just maybe 2 minutes just to discuss what the advantages and disadvantages for top-down and the bottom-up approach. So top-down approach, I'm saying decisions will be made from the top management, right? Then it will just be passed on to the subordinates for implementation. So in this case, what could be the advantage of that particular approach in planning? If we decided that we are going to use top down, we are going to make decisions from the top and then just pass on to the subordinates. What could be the advantages for that particular approach? Sorry? So it means those are decision makers, right? Exactly. Exactly. That could be an advantage. The people that are coming up with those are the people that is given authority to be decision makers to decide on behalf of the institution, right? Precisely. Then what could be the other advantage? So you want to say something, right? What could be the other advantage of us using the top-down approach?
Know the resources that are
exactly. Exactly. So those are on top, they know the resources that the institution has, right? So they will try to come up with something that will fit their budget line as an institution. They don't want the budget to overshoot because they know that if the budget overshoots, they will be landing on a loss, right? Exactly. And someone wanted to say something. It's not time, exactly. So this particular one is not time consuming. You can imagine there is the cholera outbreak, right? We know that cholera doesn't wait for the Ministry of Health to come up with those vaccinations. It will be killing people. So what do? We don't need to engage people from the clinic level, just something. They have to make a decision from the HQ here, the headquarters, and they should start pushing in materials to the lower level and start the implementation. Are we together? So it's not time consuming, and in time of urgency, that particular approach is very important. Are we together? Then what could be the disadvantages? And when you look at this, some of the advantages will be the disadvantages this side. And some of the disadvantages this side might be the advantage of this one. Because if those people on top are making decisions and they're just passing on for the subordinates for implementation, it's also possible that those people that are doing the implementation, maybe possibly they don't like those things. They're just doing for the sake of them getting the salary. They're also just doing it for them not to be seen that they're not working. Because if they are seen, possibly they might be fired, right? Exactly. So we need everyone to buy into what we are doing, and the only way everyone can be involved is when we involve them in the process. Are we together? So that could be the advantage. The disadvantage. Then we move on to bottom-up approach. What could be the advantage of us engaging people from the lower side? Then we move on to the higher side. Yes, sister.
The real issues and the projects, the real issues are the people that are on the side. So you know exactly what is happening. People that are in the offices, they have that ideas. So if you really want to know what is really on the ground, you need to go to the office.
Absolutely. We need to engage the same for the technocrats who are on the ground because they understand the landscape of the problem. They understand how the project has been performing for the past 2 months. So those are the best people to make decisions. Are we together? Then those that are in top management, they'll just come in to say, oh, okay, but what about if we just squeeze it a little bit so that we don't go beyond our budget line? Are we together? But all in all, given bottom approach, but because this is going to the top management, those people are in management, they'll still make a final decision whether they will buy into it or not. Are we together? But I do believe that actually this approach is good because everyone will buy into the vision. Like they feel being part. At least, especially if during the brainstorming session they contributed something, then that very thing is now working into the project. They will give in their best just to make sure that this project is successful. So that at the end they'll be pointing, actually, when I worked for that institution, I'm the one who suggested that and it worked. Are we together? Then what could be the disadvantage? Of course, when you need something urgent, you can't go for this one. It's time consuming and it's very expensive. Imagine having workshops starting from the clinic level. If I can pick it from that angle, it would be very expensive because just transporting people from here, taking them to Intercontinental, there's issue of transport, right? Then there are issues of ranch, and so on and so forth. So this one is very expensive. But all in all, we need to combine the two. Oh, sorry. Oh, I didn't even include it. Did I? In practice, most programs and projects involve both top-down and bottom approach. So all in all, we need just to embed these approaches to planning, all of them, at a certain time or at a certain point, depending on the need and the agents of what we are trying to work on, we can just decide to go for a top-down. Then depending on, again, what we intend to do, where we feel that everyone should be involved in the process, we will go for a bottom-up approach. Are we together? This summarizes this session about planning. Then now we can I can open another slide. I know it's only about 8 minutes. Okay. So basic concepts. There is monitoring, there is evaluation. So monitoring and evaluation, these are two different components. But merging them together, they give us now what is called monitoring and evaluation, and we call it a tool. Then we are also going to discuss what an M&E system is. We are also going to discuss what an M&E plan is. And this M&E plan is the backbone of everything. Just from the word plan itself, when we discuss plan, we said it's a document where we are going to put everything, right? So it means in M&E now, it will not just be called as a mere plan, it will be monitoring and evaluation plan. Everything will be documented there. So we are also going to look at this fun thing called M&E frameworks. M&E frameworks, that's where you have the conceptual framework, you have the theory of change, you have the result framework, you have the logical framework, or rather the 4x4 matrix. It will fall there. Then we're also going to look at the indicator. Very important. As we are doing implementation, we must come up with indicators that are going to be speaking to us. Just like when someone is coming in front of you, then they start indicating, you'll be able to tell that they are turning this side, right? Even us, in our project, we need to have those indicators that will be speaking to us. We need to know, are we moving in the right direction? Are we supposed to come up with new strategies? Then we're also going to look at data there. When we say evaluation, we need to assess what we've done. That means we must have data somewhere, right? Exactly. Then we also, I talked about baseline. Then there must be, we have to be reporting on the indicator. We need to be reporting on the progress. Remember, most projects are funded, right? Then the people that are giving you billions of dollars, they need to be told about the progress that you are making as a project so that they decide whether or not they continue funding your project. Even the government, when they give you the money, the expectation is that you should go back to them and tell them that this is where we are. Are we together? Then beyond that, I'll now take you into evaluation. I know that when you do M&E, usually they will not teach you how the cost-effective analysis is done and how the cost utility is done and how the cost-benefit are done. But I'll learn you through how you can do a cost-benefit analysis and how you can do a cost-effectiveness analysis, and not do the cost-utility analysis. So those two is what we are going to end with next week. So then the purpose of us having the M&E in our projects, that's for program improvement, reporting and accountability, share data with stakeholders. When you talk about program improvement, before I can just explain what that bullet means, is there anyone who can give us an idea, just based on what we've just discussed just today? I know we've discussed quite a lot and we are quite fast, but at least I do believe that someone can explain that bullet, which is, why should it be that M&E will help us to improve program performance? How possible is it that M&E can lead to program improvement in terms of performance? M&E can, sir, please, I know that's the right answer that you have. Data that you've obtained, right? Feedback, right? Okay. You're almost there. How can amplify that answer? Why is it that this thing called M&E will lead to program improvement in terms of performance? Yes, madam. Absolutely correct. Because you are constantly checking on the progress of the project. It's also possible that through M&E, you are able to tell that actually we are not making progress. We can come up with new ways that are going to improve the program performance. Are we together, class? And that's the major purpose of us having M&E. That's about program improvement. We need at end point to know that this is where we stand. And that's why we need to plan. When we plan, we can even put to say, we are looking at HIV prevalence, right? when we do the baseline start, before we can even start with the implementation, we can say maybe as it stands, HIV prevalence is at what? Is it 14 point what? 14.2% should be this value if I'm correct, right? Let's say this is the HIV prevalence as of today, right? Then we are going to plan, let's say this project is all about reducing HIV prevalence, right? That's our goal. We want to reduce HIV prevalence. We want to clearly specify that reducing HIV prevalence to 1%. Are we together? So we have this as our baseline indicator. Then we want to be tracking the progress that we are making. So we are going to say, okay, 6 months later we are going to be doing the evaluation so that we know whether or not this value has gone up or is reducing. Are we together? Let's assume that after 1 year of the project implementation, you realize that actually HIV prevalence is now at 17.1%. What do you do as a project? What could be your conclusion at this stage? Means your project is not succeeding, right? Because your goal is to reduce. But 1 year after your implementation, you realize that actually this value is going up. It means something somewhere is not working properly. It could be within the project or maybe the way HIV is being contracted, or the way HIV moves from one person to another person has changed. Are we together? So it means we can come up with new ways that can help us reduce this value. Let's say we've come up with new ways. 2 years later, we realize that this thing is at 20%. Then we need to stop as a project. And please, there's nothing that we are doing. Instead of wasting resources, it's better we stop so that at least we go back to the drawing board to say, what could be the issue? Are we together? But let's say this value, 1 year after implementation, is now at 13.1, right? So it means we are making progress. Are we together? But again, during planning, you need to specify, or depending on what we are going to be doing, after 2 years, this value should be reduced, let's say, to 10%, right? So this is what you put in your plan. So now you are going to be comparing what you have achieved to what you have put in your plan, so that you'll be able to measure, have we succeeded or not. No wonder, during the planning, you need to also define what is called the success criteria. What are you going to call that you've succeeded? It's supposed to be specified in your plan. Are we together? So you say that after 2 years, when we see this and this and this and this and this and still, then we can say that we've succeeded as a project. And that's why planning is very key. I know that it's a cumbersome process, but we need it. In as much as it is cumbersome planning, we still need it in M&E. Because if we didn't know about this value, how are we going to say we've reduced HIV prevalence? It's not possible, right? At least we need to have some form of data that will speak to us before we can start the implementation. Then after we start our implementation, then now we can compare where we were at the beginning and where we are now and what we have put in the program, or in the project or in the plan. Then from there, we can be able to tell that we are making progress towards achieving our goal, which is reducing HIV prevalence to 1%. Reporting and accountability, we need to, especially on the accountability aspect here. There are challenges. Even now, some people are saying, no, I cannot pay for the National Health Insurance Scheme, right? Because they are concerned about the accountability. They are not sure whether or not the government will use the money appropriately. So accountability is very important. Then M&E will give you that parameter, to measure that parameter, to help us know who is doing what, who is using, to tell us who is working on what, how much are they using, how much do they need, so that we give them exactly what they need. We don't want to give them a lot of money, meanwhile they just need 500 kwacha for them to move from here to Kabe. So everything is supposed to be contained in the plan, and hence M&E will help us to know who is accountable for what. They share data with the stakeholders. We discussed about that. The people that are giving us the money, they need feedback. Are we together? So M&E will give us the data that we are going to share with the funders. Then now we can start dissecting now the key concepts in this course. What's the time? I think we can go up to 2010 when we call it a day, right? So monitoring just involves routine collection of data about what you are doing. Like here where we've come, you've gathered here, we are sharing ideas. After finishing this session, I can count how many are present here. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, 10 people attended my class. I'll go and record, and that's what it means. Routine process of data collection and measurement of progress towards program or project objectives. We must be able to collect data on a daily basis. If we go and sensitize people in Vubu, we need to know how many people attended the training. Are we together? And that's what monitoring entails. Just collecting data on what we are doing on a daily basis. And that data that we are collecting is now the data that is going to be used for evaluation. Without monitoring, there can never be evaluation. So monitoring starts first, then evaluation comes thereafter. No wonder monitoring and evaluation doesn't happen monitoring doesn't happen in the past. It happens like now when things are happening, we are able to collect data and keeping it somewhere, right? Then evaluation comes in just like the way performance appraisal is done, right? You'll come and measure your performance maybe for quarter 3, isn't it? Once you've closed the quarter 3, people from HR, they'll come in, no, we need to measure, maybe possibly they gave you the key performance indicators and they'll measure your performance, relating them to the key performance indicators, right? So performance review is retrospective, right? Even evaluation. Evaluation is supposed to assess what has been done in the project. Maybe it could be for the past 5 years. We need to know, could it be that this intervention that we implemented in this society has led to the change that we have seen in society, right? Maybe it could be reduction in HIV prevalence. Remember, you may not be the only project working on that. There could be other projects also working on reducing HIV prevalence, right? But we must be able to quantify that based on what we've done, at least we've contributed for this much change. Are we together? Exactly. So monitoring is just simply about collecting that data about what you are doing. It's a continuous systematic process of tracking and measuring. Then these are the questions that are supposed to be answered in evaluation. And in monitoring, are resources coming in on time and being used as planned? So we need to know, when are the resources coming in? Are the resources coming on time? We know that if the resources are not coming on time, what will happen to the project? It will definitely fail, right? We need resources to come in at the right time. And that's why all these things that are here, when you start doing the evaluation, these things are supposed to be measured. When did you receive the resources? Oh, you grant at all. On Monday, you're supposed to receive the resources. When did you receive it? Actually, you received them on Friday, 4 days after. Then it means if you found that you did not succeed somewhere, you can go back and say, oh, man, it could be the resources did not come in time. That's why we failed there. So it means when you go into the next quarter, we should work on timeliness in terms of resources. Are we together? Our activities being carried out on time and on budget. It's very important. You are going to put in your plan that during the sensitization, involve with we need this much, right? So we should confine ourselves to the budget. The only time we can alter our budget is in times like, I was giving an example where the pricing for millennium has changed and it's something that has gone beyond what you can control as a project. But for this one, if things are still working as planned, you should confine yourself to the budget. What is the quality of services being provided? We need to measure this. Who have we engaged to do this sensitization? I mean, in Chihuahua, for example. We must engage people that are skilled. It's also possible just to go in the market and get the cards, right? Because it will be cheap to use them. So whatever remain, we know we're going to use that card, right? But for us to succeed at the project, we need to engage people that are going to deliver the right message to the people. Are we together? So what is the quality of services being provided? Are outputs being produced on schedule and on time? This is very important. And I'm happy that we're all doing project management because it will help me not to go in details because all these things about scheduling, scoping, and the time to be covered in project management. So when I come in, actually, you'll be telling me that, oh, actually, this is supposed to be like this. So this break is very important. You need to specify everything in your plan. Upon doing this activity, we must be able to see this. Are we together? And you must specify the timeline. At least from this day to this day, we need to see people coming into the clinic asking for condoms because the sensitization on how condoms are important has been done somewhere, right? But after doing your sensitization campaign, then you realize this past 6 months that no one has ever come to the facility asking for condoms. Then just know that something somewhere is wrong. Are we together? So this break is very important. The activities being produced on schedule, that means according to plan, right? And on time. Are we making progress towards our stated goal? What services are being provided? To whom are we administering that service? Then the way they're talking about time, how often, for how long are we going to be giving this service, and in what context? What is the quality of the services provided? What is the cost per unit of the service? So all those questions are supposed to be answered during the monitoring side of it. So this is very important now. What exactly are we supposed to monitor? So the first thing that you start with, you need to have resources, which are inputs there, right? Or before you go to resources, you need to have the objectives, what you intend to achieve. Are we together? And those objectives could be something that you have in a, how should I put it? Let me start at a goal level. So we said a goal is a general thing, right? It's what you want to subsist after you've addressed all those issues that you've defined as a project. Then from that goal, you are going now to have specific objectives so that it will be very easy for you to measure. You have this objective, this objective, this objective, but all these objectives should be linked to the main goal. Are we together? Then once you have the objectives, then you need to have this thing called outputs. You need to have resources, you need to have human resource. People should be funding you something. You need to have the facilities, you need to have this thing called surprise. Are we together? So once you have these things, all these things are supposed to be monitored. If I can take you back to the previous slide, there was a break that was talking about time. I mean, resources, right? Resources coming on the right time. So we need to measure the resources that we have. We need also to look at the quality of people that will be engaged in the project. Because it's also possible, like I was giving an example, that depending on the activity that you're doing, it's possible just to go in town, look for cars because they are very cheap. And they go and list the service. Then ask in our records, we are going to say we are paying each one of them 1,000 and 1,000. Meanwhile, we are just giving each person 100 each. So all these issues here are supposed to be addressed. Then once you have resources, now you can move on to do your activities, right? Then once you do your activities, there is this important thing called an output. An output is simply that very thing that you are going to see based upon you doing your activities. Are we together? For example, if my activity was to distribute condoms, then my output would be that if condoms have been distributed, that's an output. We've given out the condoms, right? So here there will be health facilities built, condoms distributed, clinics conducted. So this output is that very thing that you see upon doing your activities. For example, here, what could be my output when I go back to my home? I'll say what? I've introduced the course of M&E, right? That's the output. Now the outcome will be, have you understood the concepts that underpins monitoring and evaluation? That's an outcome. An outcome now is something that you cannot see immediately. An output is something that you see right away after doing something. You should be able to see it. That's an output. So monitoring ends at an output. Are we together? The only thing that you need to monitor, the resources, the inputs there, you need to monitor how you are doing the activities and the outputs there. And at this stage, you still have control. Immediately you move past this stage, you don't have much control. You can't control. The only thing that you can know that people are using condoms, but you can't force them to use them. You can't force them to use condoms. So it means much of your control ends at the outputs. What happens after the outcome, you don't have much control. And that's the reason why monitoring ends here. And evaluation picks it up from there. We need to measure it after a period of time. And that's why we need to be collecting all this data. The data is just piling and piling and piling. And at some point now, we want to make it of the same data. What's the time now? Okay, how much do we have in this slide? Okay, I'm sure we can end from here, then we continue tomorrow. Or you want us to finish this slide so that you are tired, right? Okay. So start from just right here at monitoring, then you move on to define what evaluation is in details. Then I'm sure the first 20 minutes tomorrow we should be able to finish this concept so that now we can dig deep and understand what monitoring and evaluation is all about. These are just concepts that underpins this course. So thank you so much. We meet tomorrow in this venue at exactly 19 hours.